Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And today we're going to talk about top 5 worst sources for breakup advice. Breakup stories will be unpacked. We have 2 on deck. If you have a breakup story you want to share, the link is in the description. Go to writemac.com, or if you'd like to book a live coaching session, that's also available. All live coaching sessions, if you're not happy or satisfied, I will give you a refund. Never had to do that, but I stand by it. So, I'm going to get into it really quick. And this is really a big deal, right? Because part of the problem is you're looking for information. There's never been more information on relationships, breakups, financials, everything under the sun, right? It used to be back in the day, you might go to a specialist, right? I need to go to a financial advisor, which some are good, some are bad. I need to go to a dentist. I need to go to a therapist, okay? So now we just go to the internet. We go to YouTube. I'm on YouTube too. But there's some things that aren't good in the information stream, okay? And I've come across this. I've been doing this for 5 years plus now, so I know a thing or two, okay? I know where people get mixed up, where they get caught on bad advice, because breakups are bad, relationships can go wrong, but getting the wrong piece of advice or following someone else's path of advice can make something that's bad horrible, something that's bad worse, okay? So you always want to seek advice from people you respect, have some experience with what you're looking into, and can be objective, not biased, okay? So number 1, reading an online article full of generalizations. So there's a lot of articles out there. There's a lot of old school blogs, magazines, and a lot of these, you got to keep in mind, a lot of these articles that are written, they're just recycled articles from other ones. They scramble the words and change it up a little bit. They have writers abroad that just write articles to draw your attention. So if you're in no contact right now, do this. Now, when you write an article, it's going to be to the masses, right? It's going to be something that's going to, women do this, men do that. It might have an experience or a story or anecdotal, but it's really going to be tougher, right, to get in sync advice when they don't know your situation. The article's writing to the masses. I said it twice. They want to catch everyone under the sun, right? So what that does to you is like, oh, this applies to me. Well, what's your problem? What's your outlook? What's your personality? What's your morals and values? The article can't take that into account. So you're really taking a piece of advice that's meant for most men and women, most breakups. And the reality is it might not be good for yours. It might steer you in a direction that's not good. And that's why I always tell you, book a live coaching session with myself so we can give you some tailored advice. All right? And that's what I do when I read the stories. Let's give you advice based on your problem, based on your relationship, based on what you want. Okay? Number 2, watching a YouTube video that sells you guaranteed advice based on generalizations. So let's say, oh, you know, this, if you're in a breakup right now and you send this letter and you do this thing and it's directions and it's like this, and you follow my lead on this, your ex will come back. That's snake oil. It's possibly true, but it's going to create a high expectation. And really, the individual giving you the advice on YouTube doesn't know your individual situation. Again, this is for the masses. It's to catch your eye. Anything that's too good to be true, you should ask yourself once or twice, really? Is this really going to work? Right? Is this really going to be okay for me? So keep that in mind. Okay? So if you feel like, man, this just seems too good to be true or too easy, or they're saying like, do this, this, and this is what will work every time, take 2 steps back on advice like that, because how are they going to take into account the nuance or the story of your breakup the way you have it formatted? They can't. This is scaled advice. Okay. Number 3, any advice that doesn't take into account your relationships, individual problems, and the narratives you have attached to them is probably not going to be good advice. Okay. So if they don't know, like I said, an article wouldn't know, a YouTube video wouldn't know, if they don't know what your past relationships were like, if they don't know what your problems in the relationship are, such as she wanted to get married, I didn't want to get married, right? You might read an article on that, but then there's a deeper issue with you wanting to get married. Well, I want to get married, but just not yet because of my financials. Now it's deeper. Well, my financials are going to be better in a year or two. The article, the YouTube video cannot real-time advise you through that. So this is why it's good to talk to a live person, spend some money, and you'll get better advice. Okay. Number 4, advice that is based on studies. Advice that is based on studies. Okay. I'm not saying studies are bad, but right now people throw out studies and I rarely see the study. Do you understand what I mean, B? Like I rarely see a study has guidelines, right? We took 10,000 people. We did it in the Boston area. It was conducted by Boston University, right? People never look over the study. They just report, oh, a study. Well, where's the study? Oh, I heard on a YouTube video that a study was done. Okay, so keep in mind, there's never a study that will cover all humans on Earth. Find one for me, right? A lot of relationships, you're from different cultures nowadays. Even if you are both Caucasian or white, you still could be culturally different, right? Okay, so these studies that come up, I'm not saying they're wrong. They're just right to the 10,000 people they study or the 3,000 people. But when you get into love, when you get into relationships, can you factually define love? Can you factually define how hard someone's trying in a relationship? If someone was to say, oh, 80% of people that stay in marriages have better kids and better outlooks. That can't be measured. I'm not saying that it's not true in your own life or you haven't witnessed it. You can't measure those things. Okay. So if you're like, oh, studies show, I've heard this one before. 70% of men are in depression right now over dating. Where? In the world? In America? In Miami? In New York? Where was this study done? People just throw them out there. I'm not saying they're not true. Let's just get to the idea of what the study was conducted on. That's all. So if you're getting advice from a study, right? Just beware. Does this apply to my relationship? Did they ask the questions that apply to my relationship? Because it's very hard to get factual information on feelings, love, and relationships. Because I'll tell you the truth. A lot of times people are either lying to you or they're lying to themselves. Love's a tricky thing sometimes. It blinds you. That's true. Right? All right. Number 5. When people start their advice with men do, women do this, before the individual even knows what your issues are, okay? You'll hear me do this sometimes. Well, a lot of women are usually more emotional. Not all, but most of the time women are more emotional, men are more rational. There's men out there that you know and I know that are more emotional than rational. Is it, I don't know, 60, 70%? I don't know the percentage, but it's for the most part, we can agree on that usually, okay? But when everything is, well, men do this, women do that, what they're saying is, this is what I do, this is what I believe, so as a man, you should believe the same. There's a guy out there on Instagram right now, he comes up in my feed a lot, and his big thing is, what's a good man to you? So he goes around interviewing all these people. What does it mean to be a good man? Well, you're going to get, I don't know, 100 different answers. What's the answer you're looking for? I mean, what does that accomplish? Now you're going to tell everyone if they're not a good man, then they have to do these things. A good man is honest, loyal, truthful. I don't know. So you go through these things, right? So if that guy's not all those things, then what? By the way, whoever's asking that question, I'm sure they got a few holes in their armor. If we look back at their life, you know, these people that are sitting high on the pedestal of, this is what it takes to be a good man. This is what I am. It's like, I bet if we looked at your history of life, you've had a few moments where you were a puss, where you maybe weren't who you're saying you are. Okay? So just be aware of that. All men are this, all women are that. Ask yourself, does this apply to my situation? Number 6, advice from someone who doesn't know everything that is going on. People do this all the time. Hey, I broke up with my ex. She left in the middle of the night. I haven't heard from her. I'm really worried about her. What do you think? Okay, so why did you break up? I don't know. Sometimes she's jealous. And I think that she thinks that I was cheating on her, but I wasn't. Okay, still not enough information to give you advice on what's going on. We're going to have to talk for an hour, 2 hours, and then I can give you really good advice. I can help guide you in the right direction. But if you're going around and correct me if I'm wrong, chime in on this. Even yourself, myself included, past breakups, relationship issues, sometimes when there's something a little bit embarrassing in there, are you going to share everything?
Yeah, probably not. Probably takes me a little while to
really
open up if I don't know.
That's human.
Yeah, sure.
And actually with friends and family, you usually like lie a little bit or just don't say everything. Mm-hmm. She did this, she did that. She doesn't even call me anymore. It's like, are you really, if you sat down and just divulged your end of it, you did everything right? Okay. What was your trade-off? Why are you in the relationship? So a lot of times, unless you're talking to me, who's going to ask you some more questions, to be honest, I've talked about this before. I've had many clients. They start doing this. Well, Mac, to be honest with you, well, that would help. Be honest with me, because I'm not going to tell your friends and family. I'm not going to judge you in that way. But when you go out and get advice from other people and they don't know everything that's going on, you're really getting fractual advice, right? And it's very subliminal. It's very subliminal that you don't realize that you're doing that you have a biased opinion about your past relationship. And when you tell your friends, family, and colleagues, you're just ignoring some of the things that you didn't do that were very nice, that you might have provoked. Okay? The people that think like, oh, everything was wrong on their end. It's like, well, be thankful you're out of that relationship. And maybe you have a role in being a codependent for someone that's a psycho, idiot, narcissist, whatever. You had a role in that. You allowed that to be done. Number 7, advice from someone that is just imposing their experience in relationships on you. So, talked about this many times before. This might be redundant for some of the people on the live stream, but listen up. Ask yourself who you're going to it for advice. This might be Uncle John, might be Grandma Franny, whatever. But if you look at their history of relationships, their advice is going to be based on what they've been through and what they've lived through in the world of love and relationships. It doesn't apply to you usually, right? If they've had a husband that was a cheating, abusive alcoholic, right? And you have a guy that doesn't do any of those things, but he spends too much money and I feel like he's lying, that person's going to go, well, probably stay with him because it seems like he's a really good guy, right? You have to develop your own stuff. And so going to an unbiased individual like myself or another coach or therapist out there, you got to get an objective opinion, because your friends and family will just tell you what's happened in their own lives. Now, if you have a friend or family member where you're like, wow, they're really good in relationships, they have a therapeutic background, they're good listeners, they're actually going to listen to me. They're not going to just tell me what I want to hear or what's happened to them. And also I would add, if someone's giving you advice that's angry, that's fear-based, go to someone else. Okay? That's not going to help you usually. BB, what's up, buddy? How you doing? Hippie chick, it's been a while, but I'm happy to hear from you. I hope you're doing well. Peace and love.
Peace and love.
All right. Rye Flint, happy birthday. And
wait, what?
It's her birthday today, I believe.
All right. Happy birthday.
Yeah. Let's get into, I have 2 stories on deck. B has a few
quicker questions, I think, or
quick questions that have come in. And if you, like I've mentioned before, if you have a question, if you have a story, whether that's a breakup story or a bad date, something you want to share on the live stream, please send it in. Go to writemac.com. or if you'd like to book a live coaching session and fully comb through your situation. All right. Now, 32. What a good birthday.
What an age.
I would love to be 32. Okay, so let's get into the story. And I just want to thank you, Rye Flint, for being you. Hey, coach, I broke up with my girlfriend 3 weeks ago, and I'm really missing him. I'll admit that my jealousy got the best of me. I didn't trust him, and I kept accusing him of contacting his ex, which he did, but it was just saying happy birthday. He admitted that he did that, but didn't think it was a problem. He said he has no interest in getting back with her, but he also said they are on good terms, and they were together for over 7 years, and she's close to his family. All right, so he's not just contacting a random low-level relationship here. Mm-hmm. You can choose to accept that or not accept it. Some people would say, you know what? I don't accept that. That's not okay with me. You had a relationship with him. I don't want you talking to him anymore. Okay. On the flip side, some other people would go, well, that's reasonable. You told me, you admitted that you wish him a happy holiday or wish her a happy holiday or a happy birthday. And you could allow that in your morals and values, or you could be dead set against it. The reasons that he gave you seem good, but it has to be good enough for you, not for me. All right. The other thing is, have you been in a 7-year relationship, right? He also still had her name on a company he owns, even though she doesn't work there. Okay. Well, he told me he's never, so the company thing, I would need to know more about that. I don't know the logistics of that, but again, if that's against your moral values, sometimes people can have a business prior to the relationship that it would be a financial pitfall if they broke that relationship off completely. And if he's able to keep that business, well, then what you might ask to do is like, look, I want to meet her if she's going to be a part of your company. I want to establish a meetup where I can look into her eyes and look at you and see how cordial you guys are together. That's a possible idea for this. Okay. Demanding that he takes her name off the company. I think that I would like, how much is that going to be detrimental to his situation and his company immediately? Maybe that's a timing thing. So keep that in mind. He told me he's never cheated, and I believe him, but I don't talk with my exes when I'm in a new relationship, and I found it really disrespectful that he did. So a lot of people do this. I did this. Why don't you do this? Keep in mind your situation might be different. You might be more bitter at your ex. You might know that your ex wants you back. I mean, there's certainly situations where people are done, right? They're really not going to get back together. Again, it's up to you to decide if this is wrong or right, or this is a deal breaker. For some people listening to this right now go, oh, no, oh, hell no. Okay. I told him he could go back to her anytime. He told me they had broken up for over 2 years and that he didn't have those feelings anymore. And I actually believe him. So twice you said you believe him about not cheating and you believe he has no more feelings, but you still keep turning the knife on these minor issues. Okay. Perhaps take a different approach. I would say instead of getting mad that he already sent the happy birthday, that she is on the company, perhaps say, hey, look, I'm not comfortable with this. I know you're not used to this, but in the future, I don't want you to send a happy birthday. If you need to let her know that. And in the future, at some point, when it's good for you and it's good for her, I'd like her name off the company unless you can give me a good case otherwise. That would be very reasonable. I also would make comments about how ugly she is and that would bother him too. See, that's a low blow. That's something that's opinion-based. That's something that's mean-spirited, and it's personal.
It's not going to make you look good.
It's not going to make you look good, but it's also like if he was with her for 7 years rather than 2 years, okay, what are you accomplishing by that? It's very immature, okay? And what does it say about you? If you think, oh, this guy pulls ugly chicks, but you're some kind of prize, right? You're in the same stable. He's an outgoing personality, has a job where he talks with lots of women. While these last few months I had taken a break from work while looking for a new job, but I believe this made me obsess over him more, and now I know it. All right, so now you're taking a little bit of accountability that you've been obsessive. I would also add that someone that's jealous that has time on their hands is extremely dangerous in a relationship because their mind isn't occupied.
Things can fester there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's like you have too much time on your hands.
Mm-hmm.
You're manifesting things because your mind is not stimulated by other things. So you say, I know that now. So this breakup served you in that purpose. I talked to my cousin. She told me that he was definitely cheating with his ex and that I should just let him go and then I could do better. Your cousin doesn't know that. Was there a private eye on the case? Yeah. I mean, from what you've told me, this isn't, I mean, what's your cousin's grounds of that? Because they said happy birthday?
It happened to them maybe in the past. Like they're just using
there's not, from what you've told me, if he told me, hey, they were exchanging nude photos or something, maybe there would be more evidence, or he's been out all night for weekends. I don't know. But even then, he doesn't know. He doesn't know this. Okay? And you've even mentioned, I don't believe he was cheating. If you've been together, you know him better than I do. Deep down, you're saying you believe him. I really do still love him, and he's the best boyfriend I've ever had by far. So you just saying that comment tells me that in the past, you've had some faulty relationships, and you're not used to being with a good guy, a good boyfriend of this standard. So it's foreign to you. So you're looking for bad things. Keep that in mind. If you've been in bad relationships prior to a good one, a lot of times you'll sabotage it because you can't believe it. It's too good to be true. This is, excuse me. Like, I know you're cheating. I've been cheated on before. Well, really? Could you be wrong? You're already saying that you don't believe he did. I just couldn't get over him talking with his ex. And even when he'd be out at night, I'd accuse him of lying about where he was, but really I think he was telling the truth. Okay, that's 3 times you're coming clean that you overreacted, you actually believe him, but you're still accusing him of it. There's probably something in your subconscious, something from your past. Your mom and dad had a cheating relationship, you had a past cheating relationship, and you're just projecting that over and over again. The problem with that is the worst thing to do in a relationship is accuse someone of doing something they haven't done that's wrong. He once told me that this was the best sex life he ever had, and I'd agree. Our chemistry and connection in the bedroom was perfect. Okay, well, that obviously kept things fresh. He once told me that this was the best. He told me that he had no reason to cheat. I would add, in my opinion, that there's a lot of weight in that. There's a lot of value in that. And most men and women, if you have a good, intimate, in the bedroom life, you should be thinking, I mean, how much energy can someone divulge out there if you're regularly having good intimacy, right? And I think most men would agree it's much harder to believe that you're cheating when that is true for both of you, right? You know, a lot of times when you talk to people that have been cheated on, not always, but oh yeah, we've gone down to once a month, or yeah, I could sense that we were drifting apart or not getting along. Usually there's some kind of drift apart there. It's usually not when it's hot and heavy that someone's going to cheat. I still don't really know how long you've been together. I believe that, but then my mind would come back to accusing him of it. Keep in mind, that's your mind. That's not facts. He told me because my dad cheated on my mom a lot that I was constantly looking for it. Okay, that might be thought of as a cheap shot, but it also might be true. That's when you talk to a coach or a hypnotherapist like myself or someone else out there to get an objective viewpoint and get a little deeper on that. That's a problem outside of this relationship that's affecting the relationship. You got me? This is something that while you're in the breakup, you need to go to work on because subliminally, subconsciously, you're going to keep making it true. It's what you believe happens in relationships. I think that might be true too. If I wanted to call him up and say, I'm sorry, what should I say? He's such a good guy. Well, start with I'm sorry. Obviously, that seems hard for you. If you feel like you were the one that was wrong, if you come to your senses and said, after 3 weeks, maybe I was overreacting, maybe I was wrong, maybe some of these things he told me were true, then you'd say, hey, I'm sorry. I think some of the things I jumped to the conclusions are wrong. I'd like to get together and talk. If he says, oh, I don't believe you, I don't think it's good enough, you can say, okay, look, I just wanted to let you know that I've had some time to think about it and my mind's changed about some things. And I know that maybe I overreacted and I'm willing to maybe seek couples therapy or therapy on my own, because this is a problem.
Yeah.
And also tell them, I think you're a good guy. I think that we have a really good thing. Give some reinforcement. A lot of times people out of a breakup, their stubbornness, their pride, their dignity, their ego
doesn't allow them to get to that nice.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're like, this is a good guy, he's the best boyfriend I've ever had, I believe him that he wasn't cheating, I think then this is worth revisiting, but it's going to take you having to swallow some of your pride a little bit. I've also watched a video on YouTube that says to trust your intuition on all partners. Was my intuition incorrect? It says it's always correct. I'll appreciate your opinion. Okay. Intuition, when you're with someone for a long period of time, is usually good. Intuition based on wild emotions or assumptions sometimes could be wrong. Think about how many people that assume that they got a sign about numbers for the lottery and the lottery numbers didn't work. Okay, I know people like that. They were like, I'm going to win for sure. Intuition is not always correct, and it's actually clouded by high emotions. Okay, so you don't know it, but you kind of want to believe that he's cheating, because then you'd be wrong. But really what you're saying and what you wrote is actually, I think I might have been wrong. The intuition that's talking to you now is probably more stable than the intuition you had when you're fired up that he didn't call you when he's out. And I would add that a big change probably in this relationship is that you had too much time on your hands. You kind of just mentioned that, but that's actually the big change in the relationship. So keep that in mind. Call him up and say you're sorry. Don't say sorry 15 times. Say you really appreciate him and you like to talk about things and you realize what you did wrong on your end. And then you'd say, but I still do want you to not send happy birthdays to your ex. And we need to talk about this company thing, but I don't believe you were cheating. See how that's halfway on the bridge? All right. So Sam Lujan, Brian Union, welcome. All right, let me get back. We got one more. Thank you, Sam Lujan. I appreciate it. I was informed by my American friends that it isn't the first yet in America. So
don't celebrate just yet.
But where I am, it is February 1st, which is my birthday. So thank you kindly, Sam Lujan. I appreciate it. All right. So the next one. Hello. What's your take on this situation? What's your take on a situation when I want to just take a break from my relationship? My girlfriend right now just keeps nagging me about not helping her family out financially. And also she wants to get married before 30. She's now 28. So those are two separate problems. So let's separate them. Number one, are you even capable of helping out the family financially? So if she has the realization like, you need to help out my family, you need help, and you're like, sorry, hon, I just don't have it.
Well, I have the funds.
I just don't, I have $1,000 to my name, or I have $2,000 to my name. Like, so that pressure is going nowhere. Number two, if you have it, is it your pleasure to help the family out for a rightful reason? So if you're like, you know what, if I had it, I'd help your mom out fixing the toilet or fixing her car or whatever. Understand that. But if she's pressuring you and you're like, it's just not there. If she's pressuring you and you're like, I don't believe it's a valid reason to help your family because they're slouches or they're lazy, that's another problem. That's probably not going to change because families don't change and financial issues within families, extended families, don't change. You could change your own financial situation or yours and hers, but really, if the family's already asking for money, that will be reoccurring. And the minute you give it to them, now they go, oh, cool, I've got a resource. So just be aware of that. I'm not telling you which way to go with that. The fact that she wants to get married, very common that people set, especially women, not all women, usually like to get married in their early 30s, if not 30. Okay? That's common, not always. So the fact that she wants to get married, but I'm assuming you don't do it for her. I told her I'm not there yet and that I want more time together and to establish my career. Those seem like valid reasons. If she can't accept that, she's gun to the head negotiations. I would say don't do it. You don't want to start a marriage with threats of breaking up or that I want to do this by 30. I don't think that's enough. Keep in mind, if the family's already asking you for financial help, when you get married, I think the obligation will be bigger and higher. My mother told me that she's not good for me and never has been. This does creep into my thoughts a lot. Well, I'd ask, what do you really think of your mother's judgment? Do you highly respect your mother's opinion? And did your mother like other women that you felt were better for you before? These are some things to, calculate into that. Or is your mother just a negative individual that doesn't like most people? Okay. We got such a great bond on so many levels, and she's so good to me. She cooks for me. She's been there when I had some legal issues, and I do like her family, but it just seems like I'm not ready to be a husband and carry those responsibility, and we both want kids. All right, so just classify the responsibilities. Okay, like what's the responsibilities that you're a little nervous about? It sounds like out of that, the career is tied to the finances, and if that's the case, that seems like a valid reason to hold off. I just want my career to get better first, and that will happen in just in about 2 years. I should be making more money. Okay. A buddy of mine told me to create some side hustles, but that's just not my thing, and my career is going well. My girl is also pushing to invest in some business ventures she has, but the ideas are risky, and I just don't believe in them. Then don't do it, because that'll be a big problem. If you don't want to do side hustles and you're supporting yourself right now, don't do them. I would say be open to possibilities. Take a look at things. Don't just close your mind to, well, there's nothing that'll be good. But if something doesn't feel right with you, don't do it. Do you think if we took a break, it would be a good thing? Probably not for her. She knows what she wants. She feels like she's got a plan. We get married. Financially, it'll probably help my family out. It sounds like that's a hidden part of this. And if you say, let's take a break, I think she would probably take that as a slap in the face. I just feel so much pressure financially from her. And actually, when I look at myself as an individual, my future is bright, but I can't take her rushing things anymore. What do you think? Well, right, that statement that you just wrote, it sounds like you do need to see what it's like to be single because it might help your career. I've had a lot of breakups where the guy tells the woman, I just need to be alone to focus on my career right now. And that's admirable. That's timing and circumstances. It's not personal. But if she's going to be pressuring you for family help or getting married and you're just not financially there, it's going to affect how good you do in your career. Taking a break, you could present it to her that way. I'm going to tell you right now, she's probably going to take it as, let's just break up, or it's a negative. You could try that, but be crystal clear why. Look, you're pressuring me right now. If she doesn't understand that, I think it could be a good move, but everything's a trade-off, right? Everything is a trade-off. If you feel like she's restricting you from doing better financially or in your job by pressuring you, well, then you're going to have to see what it's like without her, because now you have a blame game going, and that's not healthy for any relationship. If we want to talk about this a little further, I would book a live coaching session on this one because I think there's more to it that you're not divulging. And if you're at a point where you haven't broken up yet, it's the best time to seek a coaching appointment with myself, a session, because before you break up, it's going to be hard, even when breakups are for good reasons. So you want to be really clear on why you're doing it and in how to go about it. All right. Thanks, BB. Thank you for the happy birthdays. All right. We got 4 on deck. B, anyone have any questions about their certain current situation right now? Please let me know. Put it in the comments if you want to come on the show and talk about things. B, you have a couple comments that came in?
Yeah, let me... All right, let's see. Hey, coach, just got out of a bad relationship a couple months ago. Found out my girlfriend was cheating. Caught her lying a few times. I just had a quick question. Since you're a breakup and relationship coach, what do you think the percentage is of people that cheat in relationships? Do you think it's different for men and women or about the same?
First part, I don't know any studies on this, but I've been asked many times before. I probably mentioned it before. I'd say 70 to 80%. That's a guess. That's a hypothesis based on how many people I talk to. I think that keeping in mind when you say cheating, I'm not talking about serial cheating. I'm talking about someone that might have cheated once or twice also. Let's throw them in the bin also. I'm not saying that I think serial cheating where someone just does it all the time in every relationship, that would probably be a different percentage. 78% is a guess. And whenever someone says, is it different for men and women? Who are they cheating with? So if someone's in a marriage and they're cheating on their wife and the woman that they're cheating with is single, even though that woman technically feels like she's not cheating, well, if she was in a marriage, she would probably be okay with cheating, right? So to me, the number has to be, in most cases, the same. Anyone that's willing to cheat while they're single is probably willing to cheat while they're with someone. Does that make sense, B? Mm-hmm. So when someone goes, oh, women cheat more than men, who are they cheating with? Whose morals and values are getting twisted? Now, getting into this 70, 80% thing, that's where I go, the nuances involved. Let's say someone when they were 21 is like, oh my God, I used to cheat all the time. And then I realized how much it hurts people. And now I'm different. I actually saw Jordan Belfort, the guy from Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, the Wolf. Yeah.
I've seen him interviewed and he's, what's interesting about him, I think he has a podcast now.
Yeah, he does.
He's got a following and everything. Great movie, by the way. He's got an electric personality, like very
Definitely
energetic. But I mean, I wouldn't take financial advice or go to one of his programs now based on his movie where he hustled people for a long time. That being said, he could say, well, I've changed.
Right.
So it was funny. I've only seen clips of his podcast once or twice or whatever he would call his videos. And someone had asked like, oh, you're married now. Do you cheat? Something to that effect. And he was like, I would never cheat now. And, in the movie,
right,
he's a serial cheater, right?
Yeah.
He's also cheating people out of money. He's pretty proud of the movie. Do you know what I mean? Like, even though he's changed, he's not disgraced by what he did. I mean, he stole money from people. Like, he did beyond dishonest stuff. And it's kind of funny how in American culture, it's sometimes glorified because it looks cool. Right? But you're always going to get humbled and karma is not on your side in these cases, right? My point is, he's going on and on about, well, now I just would never cheat because I would never want to hurt my wife like that. I would never want to hurt my partner like that. So he has a distinct reason. Would it be harder to believe someone like him? Sure. Is it possible that through all the pain of going to jail, he's older now, that he no longer cheats? Yes. But does that take him out of the category of being a cheater? Not by history standards. So when you look at it, people can stop that behavior. But if you're going to ask me how many of them to cheat, probably 70 or 80% have dipped their toe in the water at least once. And people that you would never think, people that you think are on the holy ground, people that are like, oh my God. So I'll give you one more story that's a little bit, I have a relative, I'll just say, a close relative. Now you guys will get a kick out of this. And her parents were married for 20 years. It wasn't a great marriage. There was some abuse there. And the father was a fireman that cheated a lot. I only mention firemen because firemen, cops, and ball players tend to cheat more because they're a high part of society. Yeah, they have more options. Yep. Makes sense, B? Makes sense. They're also not saying it's always true.
They're also the type of personality that's like, they're always exciting. Their jobs are in, you know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Men, I mean, women always say like a man in uniform. It's,
that's true. Yeah.
Their leaders are usually in better shape. There's a lot of military just the same way. Sure. So that's all, the only reason I mention that. Doesn't mean they're all cheats. No. It just means more apt to, like a ball player, right? Now, so he had cheated throughout the relationship, but they made it 20 years. They had 3 kids. The wife stood by him even through the cheating. And then one day he left her for an affair. He left her for someone he was having an affair with. It crushed the wife, but she moved on. She remarried. Okay, so that's not the end of my story. 40 years later, my relative was still in touch with this woman that became kind of her stepmom, but she didn't call it her stepmom. But she accepted that her dad had this new wife, and she stayed in contact with this woman.
Okay,
just because her father had passed away, and so they were cordial. Right. And they just stayed in touch. Mm-hmm. And so this woman, they were catching up on some things, and this woman's now in her 70s. Mm-hmm. And the woman talking to her was 10 years younger, and they're just talking about different things. And the woman's like, oh my God, I have this crazy story. One of my best friends, it's just come to light that her husband was having an affair, and he's leaving her after 20 years. And my relative's like, and she's going on and on about it, mm-hmm. as if, holy crap.
Like,
could you believe it? And I'm, my friend's just crushed right now, and I can't believe he's been cheating this long. And my relative's like,
right.
Huh? Does she know what she did? Is she aware? You know what I mean?
She have no idea.
She probably has a story in her head that it wasn't really cheating because something else, and they got married. But it's also just convenient amnesia, mm-hmm. is what I call it, right? People remember what they want to remember. And that's a classic case where, 40 years later, it doesn't count anymore. And I can't believe this is, part of society right now, and your friend's really hurt right now. So this is bad. This is bad what this guy did. And he's older. The circumstances are different. Okay. So that's just an example of how interesting that is, right? Full circle.
Right.
All right. Anyone in the comments that wants to shed light on cheating or what they think the percentage is, go ahead. But, keep in mind, percentages are a hypothesis or a guess at best. And you should just keep in mind, you take care of your own garden, right? You take care of your own things, and you react to the things that other people do on their own time. It's not always the best thing for you. Okay. Did you have one more, I think?
Yeah, there's one more. Hi, Coach Mac. Been out of my relationship for 9 or 10 months now. We were together about 2 years. I was the person that was dumped, and it hit me pretty hard initially. Nothing crazy when we broke up. She just said our goals and lifestyles were too different, etc. I was just taken by surprise. This past week, though, after not contacting me since our breakup, except for one time when she wished me a happy birthday, she sent me a picture from a trip we went on and said how much fun it was. I'm a little confused about what's going on here and just wanted your thoughts. Thanks, Coach. I'll try and book a coaching with you this month. And I know this is not a lot of info to go on, but maybe you can give me some ideas about what she might be thinking. So thanks again.
So just to clarify, you said they've been broken up for 2 years already.
I think they were together 2 years and they broke up for like about 10 months.
If I had to guess, it's a reach. Mm-hmm. She's probably had some experiences, and I don't want to lead you into conclusions that she's been sleeping with other guys, but it's a strong possibility. Mm-hmm. Or dating someone else. It didn't work out. It didn't go well. And now it's like, let me just throw out this little breadcrumb that, hey, how have you been?
Right.
What's up? This can be 2 years down the road. That's why I asked. Was it 10 months,
right.
2 years?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always the case. Someone could just think of you and wonder how you're doing. But if you have a history and it sounds like you didn't break up over crazy bad terms, mm-hmm. Like where you're
no cheating, nothing like that going
on.
You're
not angry, but you kind of got hit by, we have different morals and values. We're at different places right now. Okay. But you had a fairly good relationship. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people go and be single for, 10 months or a year, and they go, wow,
this wasn't kind of what I wanted. And
my ex was better than I thought. Also, like I said, you tend to get these reach out calls, I would call it, when someone's newly single, or when someone has been single for a little while, or like I said, they had a bad experience with someone new. Mm-hmm. Because, being single again, a lot of times, not always, people might be coaxed by the idea that, well, this guy at work or this girl that I know that I just ran into, like, now that I'm single, this is going to be cool because it's not even cheating. It's like someone's lined up or there's an idea of a possibility. Mm-hmm. and then that idea of a possibility turns out to be crap.
Horrible or
like
bad,
you spin right into something.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the toughest breakups are actually rebound relationships that you didn't know were rebound relationships, because if you're in a 5-year relationship, your idea of what works and what doesn't work is pinned to that 5 years. And so when you're in the new relationship, it's like rose petals and wine glasses. It's a honeymoon. It's outstanding. The intimacy's so great. Everything's fresh, clean, nice. And then it's all of a sudden like, wait a minute, I didn't know you did that. Or wait a minute, you're not that serious about things. Wait a minute, you think this about that? And then all of a sudden you're like, well, my ex didn't think that way. And the comparisons start coming in. Yeah. And also, if you've been in a 5-year and you're in a 6-month relationship and all of a sudden they're like, you know what, I'm not that attracted to you. Like, what did I miss? I get in relationships that are 5 years. So those can be tricky. So I would bet that over the 10 months, there's been a person that she was talking to or seeing that didn't work out. And now she's just kind of feeling around. And you're completely allowed to explore that. I know you don't need to be like, hey, why'd you send me this picture? Or, hey, if you're bitter still, then don't contact her. But if you're not, and you kind of want to revisit this, but hey, how have you been going? How have you been doing? What have you been up to? Start a little text chat. And then, maybe we should get lunch or dinner and see what happens. Discovery mission, right? So that's actually a really good question, because a lot of people come across that. What is this?
Why is she doing this?
I mean, she's obviously available. If she was in a happy new relationship, and this is what people do in a breakup. Oh, I know they're so happy without me. I know they're seeing other people. Really? How do you know?
How do you know?
Even if they're with someone happy right now, it could be one of those things that it's, short term.
And we talk about this all the time. A lot of the information is like pictures on Instagram, things that are filtered. So it's like you're basing this info on that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Kind of okay.
Absolutely. All right. Does anyone have any questions about the stories today or the topic today, or the top 5 worst sources for a breakup advice? Have any of you out there been in a breakup or been in a part of your relationship? Actually, to be honest, sometimes when you're in the part where you're dating, this would be for another show. But I've had this when I was younger, when you care more about what your friends think, and you have a friend like, she's cool, but she's not that cute. And you think she's cute or hot, or you really like her, and you let that affect your feelings. Have you ever had something like that, B?
Yeah, I think, like you said, when you're younger, you generally tend to care about that kind of stuff more, like what your friends think. So
I had that one time I remember with a girl that ended up being my girlfriend. I was attracted to her. We had a good time. We had a good connection. And one of my really good friends at the time was like, I remember he was like, she's cute, but I wouldn't make her my girlfriend.
Yeah.
And I was like, I remember that like hurt my ego.
Yeah.
And I was like, and he made some other comments about her. And it was like, if I like looking back, like if I like her and I'm attracted to her, why am I affected by this?
But it did affect you, right?
It did in the moment. It bothered me.
Right.
And also, when I look back, his girlfriend was attractive. She was good looking.
But there were some things.
I didn't like her personality at all.
Okay.
She had a personality of vanilla ice cream. I mean, she was like boring and didn't really have an opinion on anything. You know what I mean? So I didn't say that to him, right? Oh, I think when you're younger, that happens a lot.
Yeah.
Clutch, I was just thinking about you yesterday. How you doing, bud?
What's up, Clutch?
I think it happens. I think when you're older, it happens less. It's ego-based.
Yeah.
And right now, a lot of my clients that are in their early 20s, they have this big thing on like, she's got to be hot. Right?
Sometimes your friend can be jealous too. You know what I mean?
I was just going to say, I had another friend when I was in my early 20s that the girlfriend that I was with, oh yeah, she's hooked up with so-and-so and da-da-da. And years later, he was like, dude, I was just jealous.
I had the same thing.
You did?
Yeah.
And he admitted it to me. Because when I look back now, he would ask me like inside, like, so you guys like, you would be like asking questions, and then he would throw salt like, yeah, I heard she used to hook up with so-and-so, or she used to, and it would hurt you because you want that approval from your friend.
Yeah. Oh, when it happened to me, it made me feel bad.
Now it's like, that's never happened. But I think it, yeah, that's a good point. 20-year-old me didn't have as much a filter.
True.
I mean, if I meet a friend's girlfriend or someone they're dating, I'll keep my judge. We all make judgments. We all make judgments
We're
impulsively, and then you could be redirected in that moment. I would certainly not say nothing about their appearance, because that's just so subjective and opinion based. And it's like, even if I said she's hot, someone might be like, well, now we're not going to hang out again. Right? So what I would say is, like, she's cool. I like her personality, or that's kind of cool that she's this job. Or I'll wait for them to ask for my opinion. But otherwise, yeah, no, I wouldn't do that now. But I remember that some friends were like that. And they're just imposing. That's what I would do. That's me. As if my view is the best view. Me personally, I only allow friends affect my relationship so much because I see how their relationship views are, which I don't normally agree with friends' views.
Yeah.
That was a great point, though, about the jealousy thing. And the person, like, if you say they were jealous, they'd be like, I'm not jealous. I don't care.
No.
Especially if the friend's single.
I was just going to say that.
Especially if they're single.
Yeah.
Or they've just had a bad situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that, looking back, that friend that would make those comments, his girlfriends were not very pretty. But now that I'm older, and I've actually always done this, my view as a friend or family or colleague, if I meet your girlfriend or who you're dating, or your boyfriend for that matter, I really notice how they treat you, how they care about you, how they act around you and in a public setting like dinner. And that's how I would be like, man, she's a good girlfriend for me. Because to me, I'm like, I want my friend to be treated with respect. I want him to be, cared about. Where on the flip side, if you brought the hottest girlfriend on earth and she's rude to you at the dinner table and in public, or she's yelling at the waitress, and everyone's like, wow, she's hot, I'd be like,
what are you doing?
Yeah, I'm like,
yeah,
it doesn't seem like that's a good girlfriend to me. So it is my birthday today in Thailand. I guess it'll be tomorrow, February 1st. Thank you, the truth of love. I appreciate it. But yeah, that's how I look at it now. Because I've had friends that, bottom line, I don't think the girlfriend's very attractive. But when I'm around her, I'm like, oh, wow, she's really cool.
She's cool.
She treats my friend well.
Yeah.
And I like talking to her. You know what I mean? So I totally see that. Actually, looking back, one of my best friends, girlfriends, like right at post high school, I wouldn't say she was the most attractive, but it was like, she's just really nice and sweet and good to my friend. And I was like, wow, she's just a good girlfriend. And she could hang out when we were like with the guy friends, not be flirtatious. She had a good line. Like she was loyal, but she could hang out and be chill with your friends. And I just always remember her being like, damn, that was a good girlfriend. And she wasn't a showstopper. She was cute. And ironically, going a little deeper on that story, when they broke up, one of my other friends started calling her, and I remember being like, dude, you're
sneaking in there?
Yeah. I was like, he's like, yeah, I'm inviting so-and-so over today, when you're out of high school, you get togethers or whatever at houses. And I was like, you guys talk, or like, that's just a no. That was our friend's girlfriend for like 3 years. Like, why would you do that? I felt uncomfortable with it. Even though they're broken up. It's dirty. It's not a cool thing to do, unless you guys were meant to be your soulmates and twin flames. Maybe then, and you can prove that. No, we were soulmates, man. I know it. No, I think that you just don't have a lot of options, and you're basically going, oh, like, I actually have her number. She must have liked me. She did show up, so I didn't think she liked him though. Just my assessment. I thought,
something ulterior there.
Friends. Yeah. They were very friends like, but it was awkward because I remember thinking, should I tell my buddy? Like, yeah. Looking back, wow, man, I'm getting some nostalgia thoughts. That same friend who is a very quiet guy. I remember this. We were at a house party at like 18 or 19. By the way, who wants to go to a house party anymore? Right? Did you like house parties? They always ended up getting broken up by the cops.
Oh yeah,
someone brought some shady friend that ruined the party.
There's a few where
you know what I mean. Someone's got a knife. Yeah, everyone leaves.
Yeah.
I'm just mentioning that because I had a client earlier today. It was just talking about a house party he was at that ended up some kid got jumped, and it was just bad. But I digress. So it's at this little house party get together, and my friend was there with his girl. He brought his girlfriend, and they were the type of couple that was always in an argument or a fight, not getting along, like drama.
Every time you'd hang out, they'd be like, "Okay, what's going on?"
And they were that was just their, but they were in love. Like they were deeply in love. They were just passionate, right? And they were together for a couple of years. So they had some drama at this house party. So it was weird because they were like ignoring each other at the party kind of a thing. And so the girl goes outside on like the staircase. I remember this. And that friend of mine that called this other friend's girlfriend, he went out there and sat with my other buddy's girlfriend, like to console her.
So this is
I thought, right? Like he's like, to me, that's my friend's girlfriend. Even though they're having a tough time, even if I don't agree with my buddy, I'm not going to sit with her and Sounds go, like, "Hey, what's going on?" Da, da, da. So he sat with her on the stairs, right? This is when alcohol gets involved too, right?
Yeah.
And my friend saw it, and we had about three of us had to hold him back.
He was ready to go.
Oh yeah, I mean,
yeah,
right? Like, really, we're in a fight right now. We're not talking, and you're gonna go sit with her on the stairs outside to console her? It's a bad look, dude. It's a bad look.
Sounds like that was part of his playbook.
It was bad, dude. But like I said, I didn't blame. Like, I could see where my friend was coming from. Every house party I got invited to ended up being a sausage fest. It was just, I mean, I don't know. Like, looking back, that was the thing, right? But yeah, it just came about today because someone had mentioned that. I was like, don't do house parties, man. It's the friends that mess up things. You invite your friend that has a friend or knows someone's cousin's friend that goes with you, or they go, "Hey, what's going on tonight?" And you're like, "Oh, this house party," and they ruin it. Always. All right, folks, does anyone else have any questions, dial-ins? We've been having some good guests on. It's a little bit of a slow show at 5 on deck today, but whatever. Yesterday was spirited. It's always the topic. You just take a moment to... All right. Remember the movie House Party?
House Party?
Is that before your time?
Oh, no, I think I have seen that.
Kid and Play? That might be before your time. I was pretty young.
No, I remember the guy with the hair.
There's supposed to be a new one coming out.
Oh, like a re...
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I do remember that.
Friends views. You know the great thing about getting older and older, speaking of it's my birthday, right? It's less and less and less that you can give a shit about what people think.
Yeah.
And you do to a certain extent, but I saw an interview recently. I think I might have mentioned it on one of the prior live streams. And this guy was the godfather of Kinko's.
Oh, wow.
Like how I put that? The godfather of Kinko's. Kinko's is a copy
shop.
Not coffee, copies. So you can make copies there 24/7. I don't even know if they still exist because there's less paper in the world. I hope.
Probably not.
But
maybe.
They were everywhere, and he was the one that did this. And there's a YouTube channel, I don't know the name of it, but this guy interviews millionaires and entrepreneurs, right? And so he's interviewing the guy, and the guy's he sold his company for I don't know how many millions, and he's like, "How did you feel when you sold the company?" He's like, "Well, I lit up a joint and had a cocktail. That was number one." And then he goes, otherwise, yeah, it was a good feeling. I'd been working towards that. I wish I would have told more people thank you. He went through these other things. But he said, my mom always told me, this is what he said, that once you get to your 40s, you stop caring so much what people think, and you really can get some shit done. And he goes, that's when I really took off with my company and my idea. And I thought, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, being in my 40s, I'm like, oh, thanks. There's something good here.
I had a teacher tell me that once, that like when you're an adolescent or, you know, like a young person, you think that everyone's talking about you, or, you know, if, you know what I mean? You think that people really are.
Well, even if someone cares for 10 minutes, they don't take home how much they care about you.
Right. But you think that they.
Right.
Right.
Let's say someone's like, oh, your clothes are ugly, you don't know how to dress. And they're like, oh, it really hurt me. They don't think about that when they go home, but you think about it for 10 hours and you think about it when you get dressed the next day. Married with Children did an episode where the kids threw a house party that was so massive that the Coast Guard gets called. Jesus.
This is the end.
Coast Guard.
This is the end is a funny movie. I love that movie.
That was a hilarious house party movie. Is that the one where they're in a hot tub?
No, that's Hot Tub Time Machine, I think.
Yeah, that was kind of funny.
You never saw This Is the End? It's with Jonah Hill.
I don't think I did.
That crew.
I like Jonah Hill too.
James Franco, like all that crew.
I'm trying to return my ex's stuff back. Doesn't respond, so I can return it. This comes up a lot. If she's not responding, I would say that you could definitely mail it to her. I don't think that's bitter. I don't think that, because having her stuff is probably making you feel incomplete about going into no contact and accepting the breakup. So a lot of times people are like, what do I do? I mean, you don't need to throw it on her doorstep like some people, because you're not bitter right now. You could pack it up and send it to her house, and you don't even need to tell her that. If it's a lot of fragile or valuable stuff and she's not wanting to get it, you can say, hey, look, I could put it in a box and you can pick it up out in front of the house, but I don't want to throw it out. It's your stuff. If she goes, just throw it out, which I've heard before, that's the kind of breakup where someone wants to hurt you, right? They want to hurt you. And you're like, oh, this is the watch I bought you. Keep it. I don't need it. You don't want to entangle with them anymore, because they're not playing by good standards. So I would say mail it to them. You've already made an attempt to call them on a neutral level that, like, hey, I got your stuff. If they say, like I said, keep it, then donate it to Goodwill. Ask them first. But if she's not responding to it, you can mail it to her or put it on her doorstep. But I would definitely get on top of that, because your brain has an open loop right now that your breakup's not over till you get that stuff there, depending on how valuable it is. Right. And someone, if she was like, oh, I can't believe you mailed it to me. Well, excuse me. I did call you and text you numerous times. So you can stand on that. But at this point, when an ex is like, oh, not responding to things like that, that's really a time to stick to no contact and you know, focus on yourself and move forward, take it day by day. But anything you interact with that individual could be a booby trap. Sell if online for a few bucks if she doesn't want it. Could do that. I mean, probably wouldn't be my approach, but like I said, could do that. Yeah. I wouldn't want someone to go like, you sold my watch for how much? I mean, we'd have to think about how valuable the items are, right? Yeah. Like if you have someone's like grandmother's emerald ring. I would be like, I want to make sure you get that back, even if you're pissed at me. But if she's going to be hard to deal with, you're doing the best you can, then ship it on, when you have to sign
insured,
for yeah. That gave me flack, right? The uncooperative ex who won't make time to pick up her stuff. I had one time that was like, I had bought some shirts or some things that weren't highly valuable. And she left all the t-shirts or anything that I had bought as a gift on her way out. And it was like, this is petty. I mean, it's one thing if you wanted to leave a ring or something like that, but like a t-shirt or a jacket or something like that, just to prove that you're done. Yeah. Those are things that people are trying to hurt you on their way out. They would be better off if that bothers them, that makes a memory for them, take the stuff and give it away on your own. You don't need to do that to your partner, right? Because looking at my own breakups, I have a few items that I still have. It was funny. I sent this ex-girlfriend from 20 years ago, my first serious girlfriend, she had bought me a Toomey backpack. You know Toomey?
I don't think so.
Toomey luggage?
Yeah,
T-U-M-I?
Yeah.
Am I saying it correct? Some people are like tummy. Toomey?
Mm-hmm.
You thought it was tummy?
I don't know. I don't know exactly what you're
so
talking
it's very
about.
expensive luggage.
Okay.
She worked at a luggage shop by chance, just randomly for a brief time. So she bought me for my birthday, ironically, this Toomey bag that like 20 years ago was $120.
Okay.
And at first I was like, $120 for a backpack? And it was like luggage. So I couldn't use it for class, but I did anyways because I didn't want to be mean.
Right.
And I remember like someone in class like, why did you buy that bag? You know, because it had, I don't know, a different style, dude. It's Toomey. It's not a backpack for school, but I wanted to use it.
Right.
Saying that, when I first traveled to Thailand, this was my primary backpack, and it served me as a nice bag. And like 20 years later, that I still have the backpack and it's useful.
Right.
So I took a picture and I sent it to her. Like, this was like 5 or 6 years ago on Facebook. I'm like, I still got the bag.
Yeah.
And I just thought, that's pretty cool that you gave me such a useful.
It lasted this whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Like, why would I be bitter about that? And that wasn't one of those ones where like, I hope you get this message and we talk again. It was an honest.
It's just a fun, like,
yeah, thank you. I can't believe I've had this bag for that long. And it still works. It was a good gift because there's so many gifts that aren't useful. Trying to think if there's any other gifts I've kept. Have you gotten gifts from an ex or a girl you're with that you were like, oh,
like
I'm
serious like that?
I've gotten some good ones. It was funny because one time I was watching Fresh and Fit, or a clip came up in my feed, and the guy from Fresh and Fit's like, I never take gifts from women. Never. You gonna buy me something? I don't want it. I never take gifts from women.
Which one is that?
He's with, and the girl's like, you wouldn't take like I forgot what he asked her. Yeah, like a watch or something like that. He's like, hell no, I don't need gifts from women. Okay, when someone gets you a gift and you reject it, you're actually being really mean.
You're like, I don't need this from you.
Right? Even, you know what I mean? I've always noticed when I start getting a gift or something thoughtful from a woman, now our relationship's kind of changing. She's kind of putting her hands down like, I care about you. I'm interested.
Well, it's not about the gift. It's about,
yeah, the thoughtfulness, right? Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of rhetoric that's pushed sometimes with like Red Pill and these things where it's like, never take a gift. You're a man. Okay. It's weak. Alternative timeline where Jack survives the Titanic and sells Rose backless. Her necklace or backless to Spider?
Had to be necklace.
I mean, I'm sure people have done that. I've had a situation where I've given, some nice gifts that were of expense to me. I would never ask my ex like, hey, by the way, give me that back.
She's like, I put them up on eBay.
You could. I mean, that's your prerogative. Yeah. I installed new flooring after my ex moved and found a bunch of stuff, boxed it up, and sent it by post. I think that's a good way to go, BB.
Yeah.
I don't think you're being a jerk. That's really neutral. You don't need to enclose some letter.
I was gonna say letter, some long thing.
Just leave it alone. I have a really high quality scarf. I didn't know there was high quality scarves, but we have silk scarves in Thailand. That's one of the things that are really good gifts here, actually. And a woman asked me about it, and I said it was a gift from an ex, and she said she'd throw something like that out. I was like, hell no, it's a nice scarf. Exactly.
It's a nice scarf. It's useful. Yeah.
Exactly. I have some nice stuff. Masculine Energy, Mr. Kyle. I haven't heard him dropping on the live streams in a while, but I think within the last year he has. And me and him are in contact sometimes. He's a good dude. He seems to be doing really well too. Harry Rosen, is that the name of the scarf? I think when someone does that though, I would just throw that out. I would prefer that you gave it to Goodwill or something.
Yeah,
Then
not
if
just in the
if
garbage.
it triggers you and makes
Right.
you uncomfortable, then okay, get rid of it, but don't throw it in the garbage. When I moved and I found out all his mom's family's photos from when he lived with us, had to track her down and post them out. Would have been hella rude to throw them away. Wow, you dropped a hella?
Are you from Cali? What's going on?
That's
here?
a Bay Area term
That's
originally.
A Bay Area thing.
When I moved, I found all his mom's family's photos when he lived with us.
When she lived with us.
So you're dating a woman? I think family photos, whether someone says they don't want them or not, I would have trouble throwing those in the garbage. I don't know.
100%. You can't.
Like,
yeah.
I wouldn't advise if you're going through a breakup and you're going all in to have a lot of pictures, but nowadays people don't really print pictures, so you can just delete them on your phone. I think my ex has my Red Dwarf DVD set. Well, I don't even know what that is.
I think it's a sci-fi. It's a movie, right?
I died a little inside, but can't bring myself to reach out and ask about it. Pains me though.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, T-Mac, give me your address. I'll see if I can find a Red Dwarf DVD set secondhand. I mean, anything that's a DVD set now has to be pretty cheap. Probably find one on eBay.
Yeah, it's a sci-fi thing, right?
This is where it would be really good if I had
Yes.
100 on deck on. They'd go, actually, for $10.
I had something like that.
When his mom moved in with us. Well, that's you being the bigger person. You don't want to, even if you didn't like the mom. God, that's tough when you're adults and you live with someone's parents. I would rather, you know what I would say? As long as it's my parents, because I get along with my parents, but I know other people that are like, I could never live with my parents. It's not a long-term thing, but I would say when someone's parent is at the end of their days, it's definitely a sacrifice, but something that you feel compelled to do. I've seen that before. I just don't like to think about it. That's tough. That'd be pretty dirty, though. I threw all your mom's photos away from her family's and her relatives' extent. Like, wow,
Okay.
How does that make you feel? That's what I mean. It's all to win. It's just let me win. Do you think she meant to? This would be a good question for you, T-Mac. Do you think she did it on purpose when she left? Like, I'm gonna take the Red Dwarf DVD set and really stick it to him. You think she really did that on purpose? She's like, you know what? I hope he remembers whenever he wants his Red Dwarf DVD set that I've got it. I know how much he liked that show. Ha! Whenever people do that, that means that they're hurting inside and they just want to hurt you, and no one wins. You're not ready to be nice to someone. You're not ready to forgive them. That's fine. When you go out of your way to do mean-spirited things, usually, like in the initial part, you're like, yeah. And then like 5 hours go by and you're like, why did I do that?
T-Mac.
Years later, you're like, why did I do that?
I had a friend of mine take a Sliders. Do you remember the show Sliders? It's like a science fiction show.
That sounds
And
familiar.
I had the same thing. It was like a like a limited edition set. And a friend of mine took it, and I never got it back.
Like a roommate then?
Yeah. And I was
I've had
pissed.
roommates take a couple different things maybe that were semi-valuable. Funny story. When my ex and I dated, she would leave notes hidden around the house saying, I love you. For months, I was finding these notes. Now that is funny.
That is funny. That's funny.
That is funny. That would be tough because you're like, God, that was so sweet.
Yeah. And you're just finding
You know
them
what?
everywhere.
That would be pretty malicious if, like, before you broke up, she's like, I'm gonna put these everywhere.
Just doing it everywhere. Yeah.
That's funny, dude. 2 months later, you're like, oh shit. Underneath the sink, really?
Still finding them. God.
Maybe. We both had binders with DVD pockets. The ironic thing is DVDs are pretty much toast, right? I mean,
Yeah, like you said, you downloaded them later. Like you could just download everything now.
she tossed my Valentine's roses from previous 3 years in the trash. She did it in front of you, or you kind of saw it on her way out? That's two different things, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, were you going to keep them for 20 years? Sometimes I see that in people's house. It's kind of funny what material items
Mm-hmm.
that you put such a high value on. I've thought about this before, where you, and this is very much American culture to value things that aren't useful, that you have a story to, myself included.
Mm-hmm.
But really, you're just caught up. Like a baseball card has no use.
No.
An autographed picture has no use. You just feel like this is what everyone else thinks is important.
Yeah.
Me and you have talked about this before. It's like an autograph now.
Mm-hmm.
If I met Michael Jordan, would I be like, hey, come in, let me get your autograph? Like, there's no, I could sell this. Then you'd have to prove that it was autographed by Michael Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'd have to, jump through all the hoops to prove that. But also, like, what's the real value? I don't know if you knew Bill Russell, the Celtic.
Do I know Bill? Okay.
He would never give autographs.
Because he thought that people were going to.
Yeah, he was like, this is worthless.
Mm-hmm.
And so his autograph's worth the most, ironically, because of
it's
that.
harder to.
But he also would be like, it's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
It's a ridiculous thing.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, if I was ever famous and someone asked for my autograph, I said, no problem, man. I'll put it on the book. I'll write you a nice message. Cool, no problem. But I don't think it has any use.
If you're really famous, it probably gets super annoying. You know what I mean?
This goes back to the older you get, the more you care about those items. That's why, like, for example, that birthday gift, that backpack she got me that was expensive, I'm like, highly useful.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Highly useful. But when you look at, like, roses from 3 years ago and you're like, oh, I mean, that Valentine's Day is not living in those roses, really.
I mean, unless you made a TikTok about it or something, it's like, okay.
So you're just creating that, right? Yeah. So the things that we think, like someone has an old car that they just can't get rid of and they're like, oh, it's just my baby. Mm-hmm. It's just a choice to believe that that's significant. Mm-hmm. And then as you really start to look at it, you're like, oh, shit. I often say, me and B have talked about this before, America leads the way in storage units. I think Canada's up there too, but I mean, that's not normal for the rest of the world to pay for storage with material items that you obviously don't need or they wouldn't be in storage, right?
Too much stuff for this house. Let's get it
right. Like you wouldn't need storage if the items weren't useful.
Right.
Oh, this might be worth money someday. It's like, all right, well, cash it in.
My snowboard from 10 years ago is sitting in there.
My ex isn't a very happy person, so I doubt she's living her best life anyway. None of my business anymore.
Yeah.
I always think about that. Oh, living your best life. When people say that, it's like, you know what? No one's living a full-time best life. Okay? Everyone in the world, Donald Trump, any of the richest people in the world, the best-looking people in the world, sometimes they have more problems than you do because they have more people at their beck and call. They have more pressure. Bottom line is you can't taste the sweet without the sour. And the best life, that's like that statement or narrative sometimes is like you're still going to get knocked down from time to time to get humbled. So, everyone's got to take their licks. It's like it's your turn now. Have you ever, like, sometimes this isn't being rude or messed up. Sometimes people are due for something bad or a financial break to wake them up to appreciate something in life. Need a Providence, lots of fake Jordan autos out there. That's what nowadays, I wouldn't trust anything you ordered online as being authentic, but really part of the thing of getting an autograph is meeting the person, right? Mm-hmm. But I look back, one of my best autographs when I was young that I actually gave away, like when we moved away to Thailand, I'm like, what am I going to keep all this stuff in an attic? Mm-hmm. At my mom's house or something? I'm a grown man now. So I gave it to my cousin that's into sports still and stuff like that. He's like, oh, wow, man. I had a Ricky Henderson. Ricky Henderson was one of my favorite baseball players. And
if you're from the Bay, he's got,
I just loved his game. He used to steal bases and stuff like that. And I met him at a card show. And looking back, we waited in a line for 2 hours and, all right. And it was like, I remember I had a photo and a ball and they were like, it was $50 or something, which was a lot then because we're not talking about 10 years ago. We're talking like 30 when I was a kid. And they were like, oh, you only get one autograph. I'm like, all right, do the ball. That was it. Yeah. No handshake, no nothing. What a way to make money, huh?
I met John Madden that way.
Really?
Yeah. He was at like some bookstore.
I mean, there's someone that's famous that lives here in Phuket. I've told you that I've met and I've hung out with, and he's nothing from my childhood or significant to me. But I've met other people like, oh my God, that's so and so. Oh my God, they're like, beck and call. And it's kind of funny. I just don't have the fanship or reason to like. Right. And you're around the guy. He's used to being famous. Yeah, he's like, you don't know who I am? It's like, no, not really.
Yeah, you told me, and I'm like, I never heard.
You haven't heard of him either. He's world famous.
Yeah.
Yeah, big time. Been in big movies. My life is pretty damn good now, much better, and ironically partially happened because she left me. Thank you, T-Mac, because I remember the days that you were bitter a little bit. And looking back, that's a great story, man. And you know what? Bitterness is part of it. It's tough sometimes. Because I remember a T-Mac story. T-Mac's a little bit older. I want to say late 40s, mid 40s. And he had a dime piece. I never met her. I never saw her picture, but he described her as beautiful, young. Dare I say vivacious? I don't know. Now I'm making that up. But very good looking. And I think late 20s, early 30s. And that's tough. Those don't grow on trees, man. And there was a big age gap. But you know what? You had a good time with her. Things didn't work out. It was a tough drop. And now I know that you're resurrected, my friend. I'm going to move out of the city, bought a property, and got into gardening. I remember you had a condo. You had a condo in Vancouver that you had made some money on, and that you were thinking about moving that out. That's a great story, man. I'm glad to hear that. I was just telling a client today that there's no time frame on when you're going to feel better. And that's what really bugs people. When am I going to get out of this? I remember being in that for like 10 months. Like, when is this going to stop?
I just want it to stop.
And then when it stops and you look back on it, you're like, I'm okay.
I'm good. Why?
And then you look back on it and you're like, wow, that was a slap in the face. I needed to move on with my life and make a good move.
Right. You're like, I needed it.
The problem is when you're in the middle of the crap and you're feeling like shit, you're like, when does this end? When does this end? I'm with you. Here's my advice. Keep showing up. Don't give up. Progress is made a little by little. Book a live coaching session with myself. T-Mac did before, and he did a test that he talked to some other people, and he did think my advice or my approach was better than some of the other people. You can confirm that now, T-Mac, if you like or not like. Feliz cumpleaños. Is that happy birthday? Cumpleaños. Is that happy birthday?
Cumpleaños.
I only know Feliz Navidad. Don't get me to start singing it.
No, I think we should. That would be great.
My favorite Spanish song is La Bamba, by far.
Is that from a movie?
La Bamba.
Is that from a movie? No.
Richie.
That is from a movie.
Richie.
We had to watch that movie for a Spanish class.
Richie.
What is that?
Remember the end when he goes down in the plane?
What movie?
Richie.
What's the name, dude?
La Bamba.
Is that the name of the movie?
It's a Richie Valens story. Yeah, it's a true story. God. And you know what's interesting about intuition, especially now that I do hypnosis and different things like that? He was one of those people, he never wanted to fly in a plane, deathly scared of it, died in a plane. Do you remember the movie? It was him and Buddy Holly, and they had an overnight plane.
Oh wow, okay.
They had an overnight, Lou Diamond Phillips.
Yeah. No.
They had an overnight plane for another concert or another thing, and he didn't want to take the plane.
He didn't want to go, but
it was a storm.
But Holly
and he won the coin toss to get the plane. And then he took it, and the plane went down. That's kind of interesting how that works, because there's some people out there that have always been scared of something, and that ends up happening. That's pretty interesting. Thank you, Eduardo Martinez. I appreciate you, my friend. I'm not very starstruck, but yeah, I got to meet Stevie Y, I think they used to call him. Autographed Detroit Red Wings and was pressed. He could barely walk and was lighting up the Canucks with goals. He's one of those guys that played till he was like 47. He played late, and supposedly the secret to his, I've read about this. The secret to his longevity was he would do a sauna every day. How the hell did I get over my ex but pushed away the girl that got me over my ex? Great question, man. I'll have to get back to you on that. No, I'm just kidding. Well, if you got over one ex, you're capable of getting over the next.
Yeah.
How you do one thing is how you do everything. What you're capable of one time, you're capable of 2 times. Right? So think about that. It's just that now you're like, well, this one was, hopefully the relationship that you were in this time was better than the one before.
Mm-hmm.
What I like to say is I hope that whatever relationship was your last relationship was better than your prior ones.
Just keep moving forward.
And if it wasn't better than your prior ones, then you should abort that mission soon. You maybe saw something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're making like, she was better than my ex, then that means you're filtering better. That means that you're finding better matches for you.
Yeah, which is the point, right?
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah, she had a profile model, Mayhem, since she was 18. Mixed Filipino and German. Well, you had me at the mix, okay? Sounds good. I'm on a big organic kick now. Love gardening. Get beef and milk direct from a farm.
Love
Outstanding.
Love it.
Getting dumped sucks so hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mac was great one-on-one. I appreciate it, T-Mac. The pain fades in time. I can't say I'll ever be the same after that experience, but that's life. You go through stuff and learn some lessons. Absolutely, bro. And you look back, you guys were together for a few years. You were with an extremely hot, good-looking woman. That in those moments, that's, it's me and B have talked about this. You can't, if you had some great woman in your life intimately, you can't really take that with you either. It's so funny that we think about like the breakup or those bad moments more than we think about maybe when you had a good dinner and you had great intimacy, and when you're in a breakup, you can't recall that one.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I do in hypnosis right now, is I kind of mix those together. And then that way you're not so focused on all the bad.
Mm-hmm.
I still like her though. Well, likes less than love.
Yeah.
It's okay. Allow yourself to still like her, Brian Union. You're human, bud.
Thing. Yeah.
It's okay, bro. That's all right. Takes time. I'm sure even when you start dating someone new that you really like or you're excited about or you see potential in, if you were with someone for 2-3 years, that's still going to bleed in. That's human nature. Don't fight it. Continue to date the new person and see what happens. All right. Anyone have any closing questions about your relationship or an issue at hand? We got some regulars in here with the great T-Mac, Brian Union. Who's the cartoon on your thing, T-Mac? Eduardo.
Is that Bender? I'm going to ask.
Justin Brown.
Is that Bender?
I'm doing great, bro. Clutch. Did he sign his autograph in third person? I didn't read that one. Autographs. That's funny, huh?
Tell me
how many people these days would actually go up and ask for an autograph? I don't know. There was someone that I knew that went to college with Dwayne Wade.
Oh yeah.
One of my really good friends, girlfriend's best friend,
Mm-hmm.
if you can put that together.
Mm-hmm.
And she went to college with him, and she said in college he did everything third person.
It's
crazy, yeah.
College, but I mean, he was fairly.
I mean, he's a great player. He's a great college player. Yeah. I'm not going to take that away from him. And a lot of times, people that are cocky and arrogant in sports, they're usually really good.
Uh-huh.
So they might not be people you want to hang out with, like Barry Bonds, Michael Jordan. Like supposedly, they rub people the wrong way, right? But I guess that's their trade-off.
Where do you go, Marquette? Where was he?
Marquette. That's correct.
Yeah.
Bender, but you imagine talking to people that do third person?
Uh-huh. Oh God, yeah. I would check out quick.
Coach Mac doesn't talk like this. Coach
right.
Mac talks in the comments.
All right, I'll see you later, man. I would be out. Can't say it. Yeah, I had Futurama on. You were just talking about DVD set. I had the whole series.
Well, if she's ignoring your message on Facebook, should I leave her alone? Absolutely. If you get ignored, it's don't take it personal. And also, I believe you told me you said she was talking to someone else. If she is talking to someone else, like you just got to let that be, man. Even if you did pull her away from that, that just means that she's gullible and manipulative. Well, I shouldn't say manipulative. She's easy to go back and forth. If you've broken up and she needs to figure things out on her own. But if you're getting ignored on messages, stop messaging. Oh, I thought you had told me that she was in a new relationship. it's just unattractive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look at it from your end. Let's say this is hard for guys to do, but there's been a time in your life where you liked a girl, but you didn't like her that much. You had a relationship and you broke up with her, or you stopped dating her because you were unattracted to her or something bothered you, right? Unless you're just one of these mongrels that's like anything and everything. But you've had a moment. Have you had that before, B, where you had a girl you knew liked you,
Mm-hmm.
and you had to stop dating her and you knew it kind of would hurt her feelings?
Mm-hmm.
Is that true?
Yeah.
If she kept messaging you and you didn't respond, it doesn't mean you're going to want her more. It's going to mean you want her less.
Yeah.
Because she's needy and clingy, and she's not listening. And also, when someone doesn't answer your messages and you keep messaging them, best case scenario, they have pity.
And that's
not attractive.
Not attractive.
Number two, they have guilt, which is worst case because they feel sorry for you because you keep messaging them. So look at it that way. You don't want pity.
Yeah.
She needs to leave it alone right now.
Mm-hmm. Build the attraction the right way.
Well, I mean, if there's someone you're just talking to and they're not responding to your messages, then that's easy. Leave it alone. Mm-hmm. And also what people don't realize, you don't know what happened in their life.
I've heard you say that a lot. Like
10 times over. I'll say it again and again. Maybe something else is bothering you. Don't take it personal. Mm-hmm. But you're not going to make it better by messaging again after being... When you get left on red, to me, it's like, okay, you're not interested. Okay, like...
I'm not going to force the issue here.
You don't really want to talk. Don't ask, like, you left me on red? Because they might come back to you and go, you know what? I was at a red light. How do you recommend people deal with workaholics? Work harder so you can level up to them.
There you go.
No, I'm just joking. That'd be like Grant Cardone. Sell something. You got to sell anything. You got to level up. You know, like some of these people that are into entrepreneurship, right? Work your ass off and work some more.
Yeah. Be on their level. I like it.
I would say that if you're in a relationship with work, is this a relationship question or a colleague? Most of the time, people that are workaholics, they don't know they're workaholics. Mm-hmm. They're so driven.
It's just who they are.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and they have a lot of success work-wise, but it's not enough. So I've had friends that are workaholics that I get it, but it's a relationship. Okay. I get it. If you're in the relationship with them, then what they're working hard at should line up with you. So let me clarify that. If they're working towards a PhD in a field that's admirable to you, that you're like, wow, they're going to come up with a new vaccine. That's a bad one. That's a bad example right now. But you know what I mean?
We're kicked off of YouTube.
Something that you think is worth working hard at. Okay. Well, then that's cool. But if they're working hard at something where you're like, they're obsessed with sales and money, so they're going to be disappointed sometimes, it's going to affect your relationship. What I would say is maybe have a sit down talk with them and say, don't accuse them with the label of you're a workaholic. You know that, right? I would take a different standpoint and go, look, it seems like you're working a lot right now. And I think that that's good. I understand where you're coming from, and there's a lot of good in that, but I want to spend more time with you. And I think we need more free time. And I think all this work you're doing, I just want to ask you, what's the end goal? So for example, if someone goes, I gotta really concentrate on my company this year, because if I do this, I can sell the company for millions of dollars and then move to a remote island in the tropics, right? Okay, there's a finish line there. If someone can't even answer that question, that's just how they are, or they aimlessly pick work upon work, then you got to ask them, like, what's your point in doing this, and do you want to spend more time together? Because I'm thinking in a relationship with a workaholic, there's less free time. Because if they're a workaholic and they like their job, they're probably going to still be pleasant around you.
You're just not getting enough.
If they're a workaholic and they're complaining about the activities of their job, because I was with a girlfriend that became that way in a new job she had, and it just became the conversation was all about her job and how much she liked it. But then she was also like, she needed glasses within 6 months because of all the reading she was doing online. Like it was affecting her health.
Right.
She was drinking more.
So there were some negative things.
Yeah. Like it had negative effects on her. Yeah. That being said, she couldn't see it. She wasn't ready to see it. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't use that label. I would come about it in a different way. And I would say, let's talk about this and how you can relate to it, how you can find goodness in the fact that she or he works hard, and then find a way that you can bring up the fact that it would be nice if we spent a little bit more free time. But like, what's the point of this working so hard? I think when someone starts a new job or a new company, that's a reason, prove themselves.
Sure.
But don't just go label them. Hey, you're a workaholic. You need to work on this. That's not gonna work. But usually what happens, they have a mental breakdown. Or like I said, there's consequences, and then they go, I got to look at this. But usually workaholics are sons or daughters of workaholics. They were, David Goggins. You wouldn't think of it. He's a workaholic. He just does it. He just channels it into fitness and Navy SEAL stuff. But if you read his book, have you read his book?
No.
Crazy story, crazy autobiography. But since he was like 4 or 5 years old, this is random, and I know B has kind of a soft spot for this. His father owned a Roladium, a roller skate ring. I'm dead serious. Like in Buffalo, New York. This is how good my memory is.
I just like that you used Roladium. I thought that was awesome.
That's what I call him, because the one that I knew in my hometown was called a Roladium, a roller skate ring.
Roller rink.
And it was like a famous one in Buffalo, New York. And and he said his dad had his brother and him work there since they were 4 or 5 years old, do all the like stuff. And, the Janet, they did everything. Yeah. So he's used to like working his ass off. Mm-hmm. So that if he channeled that into the Navy SEALs and fitness, that could be pretty admirable. I would have to ask his partners how that translated in him being a dad, if he has kids, or his relationship. Right. So you might be able to do that too, Clutch. Maybe use some examples of some other people that tend to do too much work or are workaholics. And is it affecting their health yet? Usually there gets to be a point where workaholics, they start to gain weight, or they have some, knock on wood, I don't want to say this, some health issues. I don't want to say the exact things, but
because of stress and whatever. Yeah.
Like people that I've known in family or extended family or friends, someone's parent that was highly successful, that was like a workaholic, a lot of times they have some ailments, and that, that stops them. That makes them, smell the roses a bit, take some walks on the beach. I'm probably the opposite. I do the walks on the beach first. Let me know what you think about that answer. It was a little all over the place, but shed your light if you were giving the same advice to someone else, because you give a good advice. Yeah, it's just messing with me because she still has nicknames for us on my messenger. She knew, but I've known and dated her before I got with my ex. Just pivot out. You already pivoted once, Brian Union, and open up the gates to a new contender or two. Start dating again. You don't have trouble meeting new women. Just filter better. I was a workaholic, and it affected my relationship a lot. I didn't realize how much it was causing issues until I ended that job and talked to my partner.
See?
Sometimes it's a job. Sometimes the job's very demanding, and you validate it by the pay's good, or you validate it with that I always do my best blindly, right? Or the boss is highly manipulative. So once you get out of a job, sometimes you could see the light. Another thing to present on this, as I go on a tangent here, hope you're taking notes, is if you had any job, what would it be? And I'm not saying like follow your passion. And would that really bother you? A good book that's old, The 4-Hour Work Week, not because you're going to do a 4-hour work week, because he talks about having this supplement business and different things like that, but just his mindset of learning how to create more free time and to trust the people you work with better. I think the 4-Hour Work Week is a good perspective on that. Really good. And he was a workaholic, and that's why he developed systems to be better with that. Man, ask a question and you shall receive. I eat because I'm unhappy. I'm unhappy because I eat. It's a vicious cycle.
That's from Austin Powers.
Oh, okay.
Fat bastard, I believe.
Well, I'd say embrace eating. It's good for you.
Have you seen you've seen Austin Powers, right?
Not in a long time. I'm one of those like the slapstick comedies that people like and mimic. I like clever and sarcastic, mature humor. And so stuff like that can be funny, but just not my cup of tea. Not my cup of tea, mate. I think one of the biggest slapstick comedy type movies that I did think was funny, though, was like Ace Ventura.
Okay.
Like the original Jim Carrey. That's really silly.
Yeah. I like, I think we've talked about it. Something About Mary.
Something About Mary's a little clever.
Yeah, I guess that's not
It's more clever.
Yeah, there are some slapstick
It's believable.
Stuff in there. Yeah, but I mean, there's some slapstick.
Don't touch his ears. Don't touch his ears. I mean, when he got his wang caught in a zipper.
No,
that's clever humor.
Right.
That's possible.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Like Spaceballs, that's, it's a full-on spoof.
You didn't like Spaceballs?
It's okay.
I liked it.
I mean, like I said, it's just not. I like Something About Mary was good. Wedding Crashers is good. That's like those. That's a little more comedies. Clever humor. That's a little bit more.
Vince Vaughn, I like.
Possibly that could happen.
Yeah, that one definitely could happen.
Right. Those are believable things. When you get into stuff that's just totally fake or a little cheesy.
Austin Powers on the Moon is
Sorry, I had a breakthrough with an IT problem, riding a high and feeling giddy and silly. Outstanding. Well, you know what? Feeling giddy and silly is a good thing, T-Mac. I'm happy for you, bud. I would say the work drive usually comes from a deep-rooted insecurity. The ideal situation is to address the underlying issue. Big points on the manipulative bosses, more common than people think.
Yep.
Well, my ex, she was a personal assistant. Don't ever let your girlfriend be a personal assistant for a man. Because even if there's nothing going on, there wasn't anything going on. It's just, you used to do those things for me.
Now you're doing it for someone else.
Yeah, a guy, right? I would absolutely agree with that. And you put it so eloquently and academic. Good speaker, my friend. Just to add to that, insecurities can lead to someone having a great body, right? Or working out. I've talked about this before.
If you channel them the right way.
Yeah, if you channel them the right way.
Yeah.
You're right, though, about the deep-rooted insecurity. So sometimes they serve people, and sometimes people just don't know that that's what they're fighting, right? Just like I would say the amount of people that are billionaires or millionaires, and you're like, did you want to take a break? Did you want to stop buying and selling companies and creating drama in your life? But they're obviously driven by something beyond money, right? They're driven by maybe they were poor when they were young and they never want to see that again, but they don't know that's the root. People from the outside, by the way, go, oh my God, that's so incredible. They have a great life. I look at it and I go, you made all this money. You're doing well. Why wouldn't you want to take a break, be with your family, go on vacations? I don't get it. I don't understand. I think Beef shares that too. You know what I mean? Like, open some charities, collect your checks. Like Donald Trump. I'm not saying this as if I like him or don't like him or anything like that. I'm just saying, why would you want that job when you're, why wouldn't you want to spend time with your kids and your family? And
I guess that can be addictive.
Yeah, it's a different drive, huh? Yeah. My ex worked on herself to exhaustion. I think it was to keep her mind occupied and not think about her demons. The shadow, as they say in psychology. The shadow work. Spot on. Guilty. So B's been a workaholic for a long time. So do you want to go into what? No,
if you're going to talk about golf, 1,000,000%.
What's the insecurity? Do you believe you're not good enough at golf, so that drives you?
Yeah, I would be almost like compulsive too. Like if I didn't practice one time, like if I took a break, like I would practice 7 days a week for a long time. And if I took a day where I was like, I was just tired or whatever, I would feel like you're slipping, man. Like
I guess with sport, you can measure that with your wins and defeats, kind of.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like you're getting measured that way. Where a lot of people that are workaholics, not all, if they're in a commission-based job, sometimes that's what'll drive them because it's always being measured. I've been in commission-based jobs before that they track your commission, and it's like it really does. When you look at the numbers, it will push you harder.
Well, yeah, just for me, I'd be like, other people are practicing today. Like you're losing a step on them. You know, like there would just be these, and they're kind of irrational. You know, like I know that,
There's something
but
deeper
deep
there.
inside me, I was like, I got to get back out there.
Someone whacked him with a golf club when he was young.
So I was holding that. On.
But you did say that golf was introduced to you at a really young age.
Really young, yeah.
By your father, who you were close to. So like, there's something to that, carrying that.
It just took a while because I started like, really focusing on it later in life.
I always remember my grandfather would say, my grandfather's a truck driver, liked football. When I say football, American football, and he's like, none of the family on his side or anything played golf. Play golf. It's a good game. You conduct business out on the golf course.
That's true.
You meet good connections on golf.
True.
Get in golf. And then I'd be like, my dad doesn't golf. You don't golf. Like in my head, I wouldn't say anything. And I'm like, so who's going to take me? I was like 7 years old, It's like, and golf, like basketball, you can go to school and play. I'd play all the time. I love basketball. Football, you can get some friends together and play. Golf, you got to be taken to a course, man. Like
a lot of, to be honest though, a lot of parents will just drop their kids off.
It was just funny because he's like, oh, it's great. And you could play it forever. And I remember just being like, he had like some old golf clubs in his, like no one plays.
Yeah.
No, we never watch golf on TV. So how am I ever going to value this?
Right. He is right about the connections part of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Make a lot of connections out there.
Ray Dalio. If you ever heard of Ray Dalio? Ray Dalio is like
business.
He runs one of the biggest hedge funds or one of those kinds of things. He's a billionaire. He's on social media now. He's made books. His book Principles is very good book. Okay. And here's an insight. The way he started in stocks. It's so interesting that people have just a little small thing that alters their life. So you might think, oh, this guy's a natural with stocks and working hard. And it's like, no, he worked at a golf course when he was like 12 or 13.
Caddied, right?
And he said, I don't think he was a caddy. I think he just worked in the shop or something. Okay. But he was around quote unquote businessmen. Sure. And I might get the age wrong. Maybe he was 13 or 14. I don't know. And he said at the time in the early 80s, and I might get the time wrong again, stocks were hot. People were making a lot of money on stocks. So this was coming up a lot. So some of the guys that he was cool with started telling him about stocks, kind of ear hustled a few things, talked to them. And then all of a sudden, that's what he was going to do.
Right.
So he said by 16 years old, he had a small stock portfolio for a kid, and he just watched them religiously. And then a little caveat that a lot of people mention as a part of them being really successful, he did transcendental meditation his whole life because the Beatles did it. Rick Rubin's done it. There's a lot of successful people that say they did meditation since they were like 17.
I think Russell Brand.
Yeah. And so he said that was a big one too. But if he doesn't work at that golf place and comes across that,
might not be where he is.
Has 2 or 3 people tell him, hey, stocks are great.
Yeah.
Then he doesn't make that turn.
Later, T-Mac, if he's out.
Take care. All right. 14 on deck. Does anyone want to talk about their worst sources for a breakup advice? Just to close it out. The worst breakup advice you got or the worst source you got?
We talk about dates too, bad dates, anything.
Bad dates was good yesterday. You missed a good one, Clutch. You might want to go back and watch that.
That was fun.
Might have to chapter that one out.
Yeah,
it was good. We're going to start doing that, by the way. Bad dates, please send in the stories just to help people out there realize that they're not the only ones, and bad dates are okay because they make great stories. But probably I'd say the worst advice I remember that I didn't take, but it was a bad source, and I realized, but it didn't feel good. We were watching Sunday football at a friend's house. Okay. I'm in the middle of the breakup dungeon.
So you're in the blues.
Yeah, it wasn't just like it was.
Mhm.
It was, you know,
You're in
my
it.
friends knew it too. Like it was like Mac's
Yeah.
not normal because I'm usually pretty
Right.
charismatic, outgoing, and this is just like
You're sitting alone
watching the game. You know, like just
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And this other guy comes, friend of a friend, and he's a friend of a friend, and he's like in his sweatpants, pretty overweight, right?
Mhm.
It's a little sloppy. I don't know who his girlfriend was, right? But my friend had told me that she wasn't the best looking. I'll just say that. He had told me before, my friend that was his friend. Whatever. Like I said earlier, I'm not into, if I met her, I wouldn't be rude or anything.
We all
like
have different ideas of what's attractive.
No big deal. But just judging the way the guy took care of himself and kind of the way he was.
You were thinking she might be a little sloppy too.
Yeah, he wasn't going to be dating a Playboy model,
Right.
that's for sure. So, I mean, you know, whatever. So we were there and like someone said something about breaking up or something came up like that. And he's like, oh, yeah. Dude. Like, I remember me and my girl broke up. And I just was like, look, you want to leave? Leave. And I just didn't talk to her. I just told her we ain't going to talk anymore, and we're not talking anymore. And you know what? Like 2 months later, she came back because she knows what's up. Just don't talk to her. She'll come back. So it was like a no contact thing early on before no contact. Right. And I'm like, and he's like, yeah, we got back together. I just laid it down for her. I did this, that, the other. And like in the moment, it was like, stop fucking talking, dude. Like I was holding everything back from saying like, can I get a picture, girl, dude?
Right.
Like, I think we're dealing with apples to oranges here, but it's okay because it's not just the looks wise, but quality wise and my situation. It's not going to just, 2 months. I just didn't talk to her. And like, she just came back. I'm like, that's when like you sit there and you go, yeah, I think my girlfriend was different than yours. No judgment, but like, and he was so confident, like, yeah, that's just what you do, man. I don't ever trip off of women. I don't ever trip off girls. You're like, okay. All right, man.
So basically you were in the presence of the original no contact guy.
Worked for me. Can I get a little more background on who she is? I mean, did she have any, like, there's some times where guys will be in a situation, the girl doesn't have anywhere to go or the guy doesn't have anywhere to go. Like, so there's all kinds of situations. It's kind of funny. I remember I didn't take his advice, but I thought, oh yeah, great advice from you. I didn't really ask either, but he was so cocky and arrogant about it. Everyone meets their match, man. You know exactly who I think a bad source is. I do.
We won't name drop it.
Breakup dungeon. Yeah, when you're in the breakup dungeon, if you're around the wrong people and they say something wrong, it penetrates way deeper. Way deeper. So just be cognizant of the people you're around, man. Right? All right, folks, it's been good. It's been grand. I appreciate you all. 14 on deck. Like I said, I'll be back on deck in the next day or two. This has been good. We've been running a nice one. Keep in mind, like I said, if you want to go to writemac.com to book a live coaching session, or if you want to send in your worst breakup story just for fun, that would be appreciated.
Hit some likes out there too.
Yeah, hit the like and subscribe button. I know I'm not doing that.
Come on, Mac.
Let's just double check. I'll give you the link to my website as a final plug here. Also have a guided meditation channel called Clean Mind Today. You can throw that in at some point if you want to search that on. And I would actually, if you want to get into meditation, this is a good start to use guided meditation.
There's some short ones out there. There's some hour-long meditations.
There's ones on breakups. There's ones on seeking expectations now.
You got a lot to choose from.
I was told to go over her house and talk to her in a person. She stayed with her parents. So I was at their house at like 9 p.m. ringing the doorbell. That's a tough situation, dude.
That's tough.
When you get to a certain age, when you're in your 30s plus and they're like, I live with my parents. It's like, can we meet outside of there? first date, you're like, hey, meet my dad. It's like, wow, it's 1950s, huh? It's Back to the Future. Where's Michael J?
Yeah.
I don't think I've been in that situation, but that's not fun.
No.
I've been in one where on our first date, and the girl was very conservative, ended up being a girlfriend. Her family had a really nice restaurant, and she's like, oh, let's go to the restaurant for dessert. So I'm like, okay, cool. And so we sit down, and she's like, that's my dad over there. I want you to say hi, but show him some respect. And I'm like, fuck. And he was sitting alone because he was part owner of the restaurant with like a glass of wine, looking the part of a dad, like
or like an owner of a
yeah, and he's the boss of the place. And she's like, I want you to go over there. And in Thailand, if you guys don't know Thai culture, you why. So she's like, make sure you why him, like, because it's respectful and stuff like that. It was just like, hi, how are you? Like, and you're sitting there, and it's like first date,
first time. Yeah.
Wasn't expected to be in that situation. You handled it pretty well.
But you knew that was her restaurant or her family's restaurant? Or
yeah, I knew she had this restaurant, but I like when she's like, oh, let's go here after for dessert.
Right.
She was actually driving. I said, yeah, okay, let's go over there. And then that's my dad. I want you to meet him. Show him respect. It's like,
did you think that the family was going to be there?
I didn't even think about it. I just was like, oh yeah, cool, you know, whatever. Right. Worst breakup advice is go talk to a friend. Now the friend is with my ex. Ooh, Mr. Mouse.
Stay away.
There's some snakes in the grass, man.
Better believe
you.
it.
If you look at it too, that friend, you're not surprised. He's laughing. You know what I mean? Like when you look at their body of work, you're not surprised. Right. That's in their history. That's in their bloodline. That's who they are. Right. You're like, you look back. Why did I talk to him?
But it's almost like, now you know what I mean? Now I can delete this person or whatever.
How many guys met their dad on the first? Like I said, that was the one time, and ended up being a girlfriend, good girlfriend, conservative type girl, loyal, really good. It wasn't a bad thing. It just wasn't planned. But I mean, like I said, sometimes people get in this thing like stuff like that's planned. I don't think it was planned. He said, you're right. Usually when it comes to this stuff, 5 years plus been doing it. Yeah, I had a friend of a friend that he was away, and he had a fairly big house with a yard that had to be looked after, and he had hired this guy to do his gardening that was a friend, not a close friend, but someone he knew for a while. And I know the guy. He knows the guy, and the guy is an active serial cheater with his wife. Okay. Like he's a player times 10,
known.
And he's a contractor, gardener, whatever. Whenever you talk to him, he's always talking about
hooking up with.
Yeah, hooking up. He has pictures,
and he's married. Okay,
yeah, he's a mongrel, man. But it's who he is, right? Fine. Maybe him and his wife agreed to that. I'm not the moral police or the cheating police, but I wouldn't hire him to be my gardener when I'm away, or my utility guy. And then he did this, and then the wife was like, yeah, I think so-and-so's been hitting on me. It's like, well,
you think you're going to be the exception when you want to have
where there's smoke, there's fire. Right. All right, folks, it's been good. It's been grand. I appreciate you all. Like I said, go to rightmac.com if you want to book a live coaching session. Clean mind today. Here's the link real quick. If you want to get into a better state of sleep, if you want to experiment with guided meditation, some hypnosis, go for it. Otherwise, I want to wish you all the best, the very best, your best. It's Curtains.
Happy birthday, Coach.
Thanks, buddy.